Okay, so today we are going to um, go through the process of reading the articles, taking notes on them, and then forming our informative writing. So we're doing this together as a whole class in school. So hopefully I can do it justice just on just me talking to no one. So let's do it. First of all, hopefully you have already read the 2 articles that I gave you. If not, then pause this video and read those because you will be a little confused. So you should have read A Ton of Trash and then also Too Much Trash. Okay. Once you have read those, come back and we'll continue. Okay, so hopefully you have read those. And now let's look at the assignment. Um, I put this in the same format that you will receive for the state test so that you're familiar with that. Obviously, different question, different articles, but same format. So it says, write an informative response about how we can help solve the trash problem in our world. Use information from the passages to support your response. Then it'll tell you to manage your time carefully so that you can read the passages, plan your response, type your response, and then revise and edit your response. Be sure to include an introduction, information from the passages as support, and a conclusion that is related to the information presented. And then your response should be in the form of a multi paragraph essay. Um, so when you're doing this, it has to be more than one paragraph because it says multi paragraph. In fact, it's probably going to be at least 4 paragraphs. You're going to have 1 paragraph for your introduction. You're going to have 2 subtopics, so 2 paragraphs for your body, and then you have another paragraph for your conclusion. Now, I think you were here when we went over the notes. You probably do not have your ELA notebook at home, so I will make sure I send that with Amelia. Um, so you have it for next week. But if not, I'll check and I will put this in there if it's not in there already. So the first part of your essay is the introduction. Now, we're not going to take notes on this except for the thesis. You always want to start by writing your thesis, okay? Because that is the main idea for the entire paper. Everything else that you write has to be centered around your thesis, okay? So while we are doing this, and I think you were here when we kind of practiced writing. If you were here for the notes, then you were here when we practiced writing um, the thesis just a couple times, though. So we're going to go over it again. Your thesis is basically restating your prompt. So when you look at this, it says you're going to write an informative response about how we can help solve the trash problem. Well, if that is your question, then obviously in those articles that you read, they gave you ways to solve the trash problem. So when you write your, oh, and I forgot to bring up just a plain one, sorry. Uh, I just need to get a plain document here. So I can show you how to write the response. So when you're writing your response, you are just restating that. In fact, I'm going to do this just so you can see how I do it. Okay. So here is your question. Write an informative response about how we can help solve the trash problem in our world. Well, then my um, thesis is going to be telling you, hey, I'm going to write a story about how to solve, or not a story, an essay about how to solve the trash problem. Now, you're not going to just say it like that because that's a little informal. You have to say it in a complete thought. So, the things you have to look for is like, remember words like ways or reasons or things, because everything can fit under that. Also, start with there are. That's a good start. Okay. There are many ways, there are several ways, there are different ways. That's how we need to start the theme. Okay. At least for this type of question when you're asking to help solve the trash problem. Okay. When you're dealing with nonfiction pieces. Next week, we're going to do stuff with fictional, and it might change a little, but I will show you that next week. So, my thesis is going to be there are, now, there's going to be ways, right? I don't like to use many because, what does many mean? Um, but there's going to be several, right? So I'm going to say there are several different ways. And then I am just going to restate what they already have here. Okay. I'm going to use their words. There are several different ways we can help solve the trash problem in our world. That is my thesis. The entire essay is going to be about those different ways to solve the trash problem. So, our next step, if you go back to your notes, is the subtopics, right? So, when you're taking notes, the first thing you want to do is write their thesis. So, you have a focus for your essay. The next thing you want to do is come up with your subtopics. You at least need two subtopics. Well, if you remember when we were reading this, what ways did they give you to help solve the trash problem? Well, they told you to reduce, they told you to reuse, they told you to recycle. If you look up here with this Trashosaurus, well, that's reusing. If you go down here, this is all about recycling. If you go to the next article, they're talking about recycling, right? Um, this whole zero waste, it's a program where people go into companies or schools and they teach the not just the students at schools, but they teach the administrators, they teach the um, lunch ladies, how to make less trash. Okay. So, oh, make less trash, that's like reducing. So, that would fit under there. Recycling, compost piles. Oh, they're reusing stuff. So, all of your information goes under reduce, reuse, and recycle. So, for this article or this essay that we're writing, our subtopics are going to be reduce, reuse, recycle, right? Um, and it works better for this topic to do three subtopics, okay? Because the information given in this article, there was three. Other articles, you might only have two. So it really depends on the articles that you're given. Okay. If you're only given two subtopics, then just do two. If you're given three, then do three. Okay. So we are given three. So I'm going to start with reduce, and then I'm going to put some space, and I'm going to say reuse, and then I'm going to put some space, and I'm going to say recycle. When you're given the state test, you're just given two notebook pieces of paper, blank. So we're not going to have anything to organize it. You have to do your own organization. So that's what I want you to do when you're um, practicing writing your essay for me too. Is just do your own organization. And what I would do is at the top, I would write my thesis. I'd always start with my thesis. Then write your 2 or 3 subtopics and leave space so that you can take notes on each. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to take notes on each. If you look at your notes, the first thing that you write for your subtopic, and this is the body, okay? So this would actually be your second paragraph. We'll deal with the introduction later. Is your topic sentence. So my topic sentence would be one way to help solve the trash problem in our world is to reduce. Okay. Topic sentence for the next one, another way. Okay. So, or you could say one way, a second way, a third way, however you want to do it. Okay. So we already know what we're going to do there when we start writing our essay. So now we need 2 or more details. And look what I need to look for details. I need to look for examples. I need to look for facts and definitions. And I always give credit. So when you write your evidence, you're going to make sure you um, put a little note next to it reminding you which article you got it from. Okay. So let's take our notes and find examples, facts, and definitions for each one of these. Okay. First, reduce. Now, if you looked in the article, um, a ton of trash, this section right here gives you a definition for each. So I look for reduce and it says make less trash. Reuse, I see, oh, uses for old items. So they give you a definition for each one. Well, if I'm going to tell people how to reduce to help save the world, or to help save our trash problem, then I probably should tell them what it means first. So already I'm thinking before I even start doing my notes how I want to organize it. Okay, because it's really important to figure out how you want to organize your paper. So I'm thinking, okay, what if I start with a definition for each one, like at the beginning of each of those paragraphs, and then after that, give some examples of each. So let's do that. Now remember, each one is its own paragraph. So we're just going to concentrate on reducing right now. All right, so reduce. Well, the definition that they gave, I'm just going to quote it because the definition they gave was make less trash. You really can't reword that. So I'm going to first put definition so I know this is a definition. Okay. And then I'm going to put quotes around it because I'm going to take their words. Okay. If you use their words, word for word, what they say, then you need to quote it. Okay. And then behind it, I'm going to say, okay, I got that from a ton of trash. Okay. Right now, I'm going to give some examples. We're right in that same, sorry, I keep going to the wrong one. In that same one, they give you an example, right? Throwing away fewer napkins when you eat, for instance. So I don't want to write a complete sentence. Okay. When I'm taking notes, do not write a complete sentence. So I just write phrases. Throw away less napkins. Okay. This forces you to create your own sentences when we go start writing our essay. And then this came from a ton of trash. Now, your notes are just for you. So you'll see that as I keep going, I'm going to do less and less words. I'm going to do more abbreviations. I know that a ton of trash means, or a ton means a ton of trash. So I'm just going to write ton. It's less typing for me. Okay. So that's an example. Now, for reduce, there's really not a whole lot. That's why I started with this. So some of your paragraphs are going to be really small, some are going to be more. Recycling, it gives you tons of information. So you also have to make sure you get information from both articles. Well, if you remember when I talked about zero waste, I kind of mentioned it briefly when we were going over it. Zero waste, the goal of this program is to make less trash. Make less trash. That's what reduce means. So let's put this as another example of reducing. So I'm going to do, it's an actual program called Zero Waste. So I want to make sure and then I'm just going to write phrases. Okay. So it's a program, goes into schools, companies, etc. Okay. Also, because the goal is the definition of reduce, I think I might want to quote that. Okay. And so I need to make sure I do it word for word. Now, it's not the beginning of a sentence, so you don't have to do that. You don't have to quote the entire sentence, but the phrase that I'm going to use in my sentence needs to be quoted. So, to teach people to make less trash. That is the quote. And then that came from Too Much Trash. Okay. So that came from a different article. So I'm going to say Too Much Trash. And that's all we really have for reduce. You're going to have to do a topic sentence. And then you have three pieces of information here. They're simple ones, but still, we could have three sentences there. And then you're going to need a closing sentence. So that really can be five sentences. They're going to be short ones, but it's still enough information to write a paragraph. Okay. So now let's go on to reuse. Well, I'm going to use the same format. Okay. So I'm going to start with the def. Okay. Notice I am um, doing more abbreviations. Okay. The notes are for you. So as long as you understand the notes, they're fine. This one also has the definition is hard to reword. Find new uses for old items. So I think I'm going to quote that one also, just because it's hard to reword that. You want to make sure that you don't quote too much, though. If you use their words, it's called plagiarism. And if you do that for the state test, if you use too many of their words, then they think you're plagiarizing and they won't even grade it. Okay. So you want to make sure you put things in your own words as much as possible. And if you do use their exact words, make sure you give them the credit. Okay. And I'll show you that as we write the we write the essay. So find new uses for old items. And that was from Ton. Now I'm going to go and give some examples again. Okay. Examples that they gave, they talked about the paper bags. Okay. I'm not going to write sentences, I'm just writing phrases. They said paper bags could be used to wrap gifts. Also, they said it could be used to make book covers. So I'm just going to do that. And that was also from a ton of trash. Okay. Um, the other thing that they did specifically was right away in the beginning here, they used Trashosaurus. Well, that is reusing. That's definitely reusing. So I'm going to talk about that. Once again, I'm not going to use any of their words. I'm going to put it in my own words. So I don't write sentences. This will force me to create my own sentences. So this is a dinosaur made from, if you read the article, literally a ton of trash, 2,000 pounds. So dinosaur made from a ton of trash. Now, this is a specific dinosaur. So I want to make sure that I explain that. And they saw it was at the Garbage Museum. It's an actual museum called Garbage Museum, and it was in Connecticut. So it's this museum in Connecticut. So I'm just going to make sure I put that. And then I'm going to, because it was a specific sculptor who made this, I'm going to actually write his name. Oops, let's spell it correctly. Okay, so that's the person who made it, and that is from a ton. All right, I don't like to have that at the bottom, so I'll do that. Okay, so this is some information. We'll have to figure out how we want to put that into our paragraph, our essay later. Now, there's one more. If you go to Too Much Trash on this backside, this compost pile. They're reusing the garbage and they're making a compost pile. That is reusing. So I'm going to add that to my, so I'm going to say compost pile. And then I need to take some notes on it. So take scraps. Notice I am not writing a complete thought. Take scraps of food, plants, okay? And then um, let's see, the worms, right? Worms and the bugs. Um, break it down, uh, and it makes fertile soil. Fertile soil, I think you know what this is. It just means that it's good, rich soil. So you can use rich soil or fertile soil, however you want to do it. But that is from Too Much Trash. Okay. Notice I just say two because I'm getting tired of typing. So you just, and you'll probably get tired of writing and you don't want to spend too much time on this. Okay. I'm explaining it. And so I'm going through all my thought processes. So it seems like it's taking longer. But when you do this, you should spend at the most 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes doing your planning. Okay. It's important to spend that time planning, but don't spend too much time because you want most of your time to write your essay. Okay, so let's do the definition of recycling. Now, in this one, it's more of a complicated one, so I'm just going to take notes with it. I'm not going to write it in a complete sentence, and I don't think I'm going to quote it either. I'll still give credit, but I'm not going to quote it. So you take trash, right, and it goes through a cycle. So put it through a special process, right? Um, so that you can use it again to use it again. So that's basically what recycling is. Okay. Obviously, take trash, put it through special process to use it again. I mean, that's not a complete thought, but we'll make it a complete thought when we start writing our essay. And we got that from Ton in that same area. Now let's do some examples. Okay. So there are several things here. Um, with recycling, the examples they gave, they told you materials that could be recycled, and then they also gave you materials that can be made from other recycled stuff. So let's start with items, um, items to be recycled. Okay, these are the items that you can recycle, and if you go through those two articles, there is a lot of them. They talk about all the recycled materials up here. They talk here about buying recycled products. We'll get to that next. Even in this one, they talk about different things that can be recycled throughout this whole thing. Um, and then even here, they talk about things that can be made. We'll get to this later because these are important too. But we'll end with that. So the items in this, all of the items that are in Too Much Trash are in a ton of trash except for one. So in a ton of trash, they say paper, glass, uh, plastic, tires, and newspapers, aluminum cans. Those are all ones that we found in a ton. Now, some of them are also in Too Much Trash, also. But the one that was only in Too Much Trash was batteries. Okay. Now, I don't think we will definitely give credit because that'll be kind of hard. But when you're taking your notes, go ahead and make sure you know where you got the information. And we'll decide what we're going to do with that later when we start writing the essay. Okay, now when you read this, all of the things that they told you could be made from recycled material, if you noticed, all of them was they were all made from recycled water bottles. So I'm going to specifically say items made from recycled water bottles because these are all going to be made from recycled water bottles. And those are park benches, Let's see, they said carpet, they said backpacks, lumber. I think the lumber was from the too much trash, and then clothes, I think, was from too much trash, and bags was from too much trash. I'm not even going to label this because I don't think I'm going to specifically say one thing or the other. So this is all of the information for recycling. However, there is some other important stuff, these two. So when you're writing this, you're trying to tell your readers that they can help solve the trash problem, right? Well, these quotes here, the statistics here, show the readers, hey, there's something that actually works. This one is talking about using recycled aluminum cans instead of mining new ones, right? Because it talks about if you make them from scratch, you have to mine the metal and that wrecks the ground. And then, so that makes it worse and pollutes the air and the water. Well, then it gives you this statistic, okay? Where it says making aluminum cans from recycled cans uses 95% less energy. And it also says the energy saved each year from recycled cans could light Washington, D.C. for nearly 4 years. So this is like a thing that says, yes, we can do it. Okay. This one down here talks about just one bale or bundle of recycled newspapers can save 17 trees. So it gives the wow factor kind of thing, like it grabs the attention of the readers and it says, hey, this really works. So um, we decided as a class that this might be good to use one of these in our paragraphs to really grab the reader's attention. We decided that talking about the aluminum cans would you'd have to really explain it more. So we decided to be lazier and just do the newspaper one because that one you can just quote without doing too much explanation. So this one is definitely one that I'm going to quote. So I'm going to use their exact words: one bale or bundle of recycled newspapers can save 17 trees. Okay. Now, this was not the beginning of the sentence, so we do not capitalize that. We'll have to figure out um, what we're going to say when we write the essay, but make sure that we put that it came from a ton of trash. So if we need to refer back to it, we can. Okay. Well, that is it. We have made our notes. Okay. Now I wrote them big so that you could see them more while you're watching the video, but those are our notes. And I am going to um, upload this to your Google Classroom. The next step is to write the essay. And because you're probably tired of hearing me, I am going to um, do that after school and then upload it. So next week on Tuesday, we're going to start writing our own, and I will give another video explaining that too. But I know I started late with this, and I apologize, but um, if you could watch this and then watch the next one that I'm going to do after school before next Tuesday, that would be great. All right. Enjoy your day.